All right, everybody, welcome to the June edition of the Thomist Poets, the post-Father's Day edition. And rather than taking more time, I'm going to hand it right away over to our four poets and their joint project.
Great. Thank you so much, Christopher, for inviting all of us here. For Fiona and Marie and Isabel and I to share our poetry. Oh, Sunil's here. I just saw his name pop up. and a bunch of other really wonderful poets. I see Sally, Jason, and Ken, John, everybody. And I wanted to kind of start us out by explain what we're going to be doing tonight, because we're going to do a round robin, because there are four of us. There usually aren't this many poets doing a reading. And so we kind of came up with the system. And so what we're going to do is we're each going to read our bios for each other, and then a poem, and then we're going to loop back around and do the cycle over again with another poem. And maybe explain a little bit about the poem that we're going to be reading or that we read. And but first, I wanted to introduce Fiona, who is the creator of the chapbook in terms of its physicality. And so her bio goes like this. Fiona Spring has been running her small letterpress, Lettre Sauvage, since 2003. She's worked with new and established poets, including Stephen Dunn, Ryan Wilson, and Anne Carson, and has a chapbook forthcoming by Elijah Blumoth. Her broadsides and chapbooks are included in collections at the Getty Research Institute, special collections at UCLA Library, Brown University, and the Library of Michigan. Her studio is also open by appointment to poets who want to learn the craft and create their own publications. She is also an editor at the new Coliseum Journal of Arts and Letters, an excellent brand new journal that I know a lot of people are involved with. And so I was wondering, Fiona, if you could start by telling us how this project all came about.
Thanks, Zina. Thank you so much. And first, many thanks to Christopher. I really appreciate that you started this much needed poetry reading. I've been attending it as much as I can ever since the first meeting. So as Zina mentioned, it's been about 25 years with the help and support of my family. I've been preserving and operating these vintage letterpresses and related giant machines and equipment over here. And it's all in the service of poetry. So it's always been about poetry. We teach others the craft of letterpress. We even have little children come in and make stationery and all sorts of things that happen here, because we find we look at it as a resource. It's part of our cultural heritage that should be shared. So, and then I have my little projects, like Zina mentioned. Last fall, I printed a beautiful broadside of Ryan Wilson's poem In the Harvest Season. I still have copies of this one left, and I hope everyone, especially his students and all his readers and fans, will be able to have that in their library. But since winter, we've been working on this chapbook, The Forest Drive 3. I wish I had time to mention the first two because they're awesome too, but the harmonious, serene loveliness of this book, it just reflects all the love of everyone involved. I'm so grateful for Marie and Zina and Isabella and Ima for their beautiful work in this book. Then I just want to mention really quickly that chapbook by Elijah Blumoth is available for pre-order. On the site, I don't know if anybody can post the link for me, but there's a little photo so you can see like the deep black printing, the elegance of this book. This is a sonnet crown called The Necklace of Harmonia, about the curses on the children of Cadmus and Thebes. It is super fun to read. So I'm very excited about having that ready by August. So, okay, So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the bigger picture, where this book comes from. Over here, my little workshop. And I'm going to go ahead and read the poem that's in the back of this book called I Proclaim Them All Auspicious. And this was one of those times when I was working on a poem about an experience with my daughter, and I was working on a poem about augury. And then I was struck, I guess, somehow they came together in my mind. So I proclaim them all auspicious. My injured daughter drew to the cool mud, where cygnets learned to dip in silently. At chilly London parks with dark green ponds, she circled in and rested there, was charmed by every move, her mind calmed by their slowness. Through her tired eyes, I contemplated birds whose movements on the water spoke to us. I'd flown here in response to her alarm. Exhausted with a broken rib, she called, said surely she was dying on a gurney. I think of how the swans haunt pools and banks, since they saw Phaeton struck down in his youth. And then my mind proceeds to auguries, the ways the lives of birds opened or signed with gifts of new insight to guide the faithful. I want to know what omens they convey, carved through the sky, to read the full portent of their great bowl of movement and of sound. Who can explain swans' eddies and smooth dives to comfort tired minds afraid of fate? Last year, the condors crowned our summer valley. They rode warm air to make us fall away to umbral hush. A small dart up above, the haze and dust, the wingtips drew a path arcing due north, as if to say, proceed, there will be days of strength. The great wingspan, as strong as all we had. Fathom-high condors, low swans, pale doves, eagles, and hawks in trees, and blackbirds tracked and read by ancient priests. Auspicious, feathered bodies, sleek as light. We hear their calls beyond the space of sight. Down here, the floating swans favor a quiet of floating patiently to feel the signs. Good hope weaves light across a tapestry in which our world of blue is but a drop, hurled on the forehead of a coasting crane. Thank you. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Isabella. Isabella Sue is a California-born, Midwest-based poet. I have to insert that she is also a philosopher and a chef and a wonderful person. Her poetry has been published in Literary Matters, Poems for Persons of Interest, New Verse Review, among others. Her mid-length poem, The Young Man at Nain, was included in the Colosseum Book of Contemporary Narrative Verse. She is the 26-27 Poet in Residence at Ripon College. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to you to read The King of Los Angeles County.
Thanks so much, Fiona. This poem was first printed by Steve Knepper, New Verse Review. This is one of the many poems I've written about my father, who may be listening in here. I think he and my mom are here. I think you'll get a good sense of him through this poem, his resourcefulness and creativity, which I hope I have some of. This is called The King of Los Angeles County. He grows tomato vines in gallon jugs. In plastic tubs, potatoes sprout out through their million eyes. He's even planted stalks of corn in plaintive rows in his backyard, between the carport and garage. His wife's dismayed by all this growth, by all this green, a better sight in someone else's yard. Even the house meanders year by year, additions born in quiet winters burst through summer's lengthened days, a shanty town behind their sun-bleached fence. She cannot grudge his potent hands or his resourcefulness. O makeshift Midas, O suburban king, beneath your gnarled thumb grows everything. And I am very pleased to introduce my friend Marie next, who is, I think, coming to us from a pretty unusual location. That might be a first for the Thomist poets. From the car, she'll be reciting poetry. Marie Burdett is about to graduate this summer from the UST MFA program. She's a gardener and lives in Florida with her dog named Muffin. And this is her poem, Native Tongue.
Hi, I apologize for coming to you from the car. I'm just getting back. Well, actually, I'm in the Buc-ee's in Kentucky. So, this is a great location to read my poem, Native Tongue. The background for this poem is that, I'm a Cherokee citizen, and last year I decided to start taking online Cherokee classes because I've been trying to be more active within the community. And the classes are online, and so I don't get to see anybody in person, but the instructor reminded me so much of my grandfather with his Oklahoma drawl and the stories he had growing up. So this poem celebrates the act of relearning a language that should have just been yours to begin with. And so there's a few Cherokee words in here. And this free verse, sorry, not sorry. Native tongue. It's not the way we used to learn. Nowadays, learning Cherokee means clicking on a computer screen, listening from a distance to my instructor's Oklahoma voice, just like my grandpa's round and furrowed as clay. It's not the way he learned either. He swam in a river of our language, every day immersed and speaking naturally. His mom baked him guanageriski. He stuffed his little boy's tummy with purple kanugatli. He ran outside barefoot when the Chispoko sang. He knew the words just how a river knows its way through a valley. But these words sputter on my tongue, slippery as a fish, foreign, tangled, strange. But once I heard the dawn cardinal cry, Tohichu, Tohichu. Osta, Osta, I replied. It's a beginning trickle, a taste of the wider river. Now I'm going to introduce my friend Zina, not Isabel. Zina is the deputy editor of New Verse Review and a graduate student in the MFA program at the University of St. Thomas, Houston. Her writing can be found at her Substack, The Beauty of Things. Her poetry has been published or is forthcoming in Ecstasis, Autumn Sky Daily Poetry, Poems for Persons of Interest, Trampoline, New Verse Review, Nimrod, and La Raton Review. She is a yearly attendee of the Frost Farm Conference, which also doubles as her birthday party. She lives in Boston with her husband and 5 children.
Thank you so much, Marie. And I just wanted to add also that Fiona, Isabella, and Marie had this chapbook thing going. I knew absolutely nothing about it, and they had invited me in. So I am eternally grateful for these 3 really wonderful, talented poets, and now my friends, whom I just met over at the residency at University of St. Thomas, which I wanted to add also is where we all have either gone to school or are currently in school. And that's the constant tie amongst all of us. And so the poem that I'm reading is not in the chapbook over here for Strive 3. One of the things that we had discussed was how many poems we were going to read from the chapbook. And so we were reading one from each from the chapbook, and then we're reading something that's outside it. And so this one was just published in Nimrod in June this month, and it is called So This Is Love. And the background of this story is that When I had my first baby, I had a very bad case of preeclampsia. The long story short is that the baby was fine, but I was not. I was very sick um, during the labor and shortly thereafter. And so I had a little bit of time with the baby, and the baby was given directly to my husband. Upon receiving his son in his arms, he said that this is the first person in the world I know I'm related to, because he's adopted and the only blood relatives that he knows are the ones that I've given birth to. And so this was the first blood relative he had ever known. And so but as I was fading out of consciousness, I looked at him and I thought, well, if I die now, I would have given the man that I love what he most wanted in this world, which is a biological family. And so that's what this poem is about. And it goes like this. So this is love. It's not the racing heart, the scent of springtime cherry blossoms strewn beneath our feet along the avenue. It's not the picnics in the park, the late night dates at diners talking until dawn. It's not the kiss, the fluster of our hands on clothes, on skin. It's not the passion of our fights and making up. It's not the quiet Sunday mornings with our coffee cups. Remember when magnesium sulfate coursed through my blue veins like liquid fire? I faded out to some strange song. A concert of concern sang in the dim-lit room. The baby cried. Electric heart songs strummed through cords connected to machines. Black screens displayed a moving landscape, green-lined peaks and veils that pulsed and beat inside. I heard you hum as you rocked in your arms, our newborn son. I strained for one last look of you and him, and falling into dreams from which I did not know I'd wake, I knew that I had loved. And so with that, I want to give the microphone back to Fiona, and she is now going to read St. Francis de Sales, Pray for Us.
Wow, Zina, I'm so glad that poem got published. So many people love hearing you read that poem. That was great. Okay, well, it's hard to follow that. That was really heavy. So my poem is about a true story of how my husband kind of thought I was falling off of a cliff or going off the deep end when I started worshiping. And true story, we were at this coastal mountain and nature tried to literally push us off the cliff. So anyway, St. Francis de Sales, pray for us. You helped me through that coastal camping trip. I put your introduction, faded, bent, into the heavy bag that weighed our tent down on the stormy mountain. Each cold rip and gust brought chills to question the excursion. What did we seek so far up this cold trail? You saw my husband's hopes rise like the gale, that my new faith would wilt through such diversion. Next morning, I read through your sunlit words, while waves along the beach crashed rhythmically. My soul was drawn into unpracticed prayer. We walked the wetlands, marveled at the birds. Then after dark, the wind grew back more thickly and nearly launched us, tented, into nowhere. Okay, it is time to hand it back to Isabella.
Thank you, Fiona. And it's so fun to see that poem that she just read. I remember seeing some pretty early notes of that. So always a delight. This next poem is called Villanelle of Quiet Desperation. It was publish in Poems for Persons of Interest. And I believe one of the editors is here, Alex Reddy. So thanks, Alex, for publishing this poem. There's nothing really deep about it. It is just about getting a little down when life is difficult in all of the little ways that it can be. So here is Villanelle of Quiet Desperation. Frustration's edge is finer than you thought. Life sinks its teeth in you in little ways. No, nothing ever works the way it ought. There's no coffee in the coffee pot. The milk's gone bad, you suffer more delays. Frustration's edge is finer than you thought. You want a break. This wasn't what they taught in school. Your life is one unending maze where nothing ever works the way it ought. The tie you wear to work's a Gordian knot. You can't untie until you get a raise. Frustration's edge is finer than you thought. You held out hope, which never gave you squat. Your father died without a word of praise. No, nothing ever works the way it ought. Your kids don't look like you. Your nerves are shot. You're not a person, but a paraphrase. Frustration is the only thing you've got. Things never work the way you think they ought. And we're, thank you, taking it right back to Marie with Tractor Sonnet.
I really love that poem, Isabella. Next poem I'm reading was inspired by the time I was working for the Nature Conservancy. In a seasonal position, I lived on a preserve in North Florida, and I ended up driving tractors for 10 hours a day to collect wiregrass seed for the restoration effort. So this poem contemplates how our efforts to care for the earth can sometimes be the opposite. And this poem was published last year in the Clay Jar Review. So, Tractor Sonnet. I gaze upon a sea of wiregrass, each windrow after windrow all wind-blown. My hopper full, I'll make another pass, deaf to the wind, drowned in my tractor's drone. I'm crushing golden stems and thorny thickets, and puffing out white plumes of seedy fluff, and breaking up the roosts of moths and crickets. I watch them flick away. They've had enough. And frankly, so have I, but 2 days in. Fall bloom is done, the brown liatris spires, the baby longleaf pine, to my chagrin, succumb beneath the pressure of my tires. Unglimpsing my machine, its soulless girth, I wonder who'd conclude I love this earth. And now for the grand finale is Zina with her poem Guardianship.
Thank you so much, Marie. I can picture you on a tractor right now. You seem to be like someone that can do all that stuff. I'd probably just fall off. But anyway, here's Guardianship, which is the ticket that got me into this this chapbook. And Isabella Marie and Fiona saw it, and they liked it. And I wasn't even sure whether or not it was ready. And so sometimes it just needs a little kind of push. But this is actually a group of memories that I have about, do you remember during the pandemic, there was an abnormally warm November where it had snowed in Boston, it had snowed on Halloween. But then the first week of November, first 2 weeks, it was like in the 70s. And so at that time, we had actually gotten a what do you call it? A rental house for cheap, because who gets a rental house by the beach? At that time, it turned out to be a wonderfully warm day. But that's how this starts off. And my son, who is just turned 21 yesterday, this is kind of projecting out into to seeing how things are kind of going, because he is actually turning prematurely gray, and that's what kind of started this poem. And this poem turned into a meditation, and it is iambic and just reminded me of what it's like to kind of just walk with him. So anyway, this is Guardianship. November's given us a warmer day than I expected. The unencumbered gulls are calling to each other. I ask if you will walk with me and you agree. We stroll the swath of empty beach, just like we used to when you were a boy. You look out at the rocks and point to birds. I see how much you've grown. The beard we do not shave is getting thick. I wonder how much more we have. I mean, these days, or maybe something else. My hair is gray. I see some gray in yours. The birds are looking at us on the shore, and we are looking at them on the rocks that jut out on the changing water. What luxury it is to be a bird. What happiness it is to be with you and not to be a bird or any other mother. I should also probably explain that my son has autism and we have full guardianship of him, and that's why this is entitled Guardianship. It's part of a cycle of poems that uses words that are very familiar to families who go through special education and for individuals with disabilities, and just taking these words out of context, and putting into a new frame and what these words can mean. So guardianship, transition age, grid A, grid B. I've taken a lot of stuff just pulled right out of IEPs. So anyway, that's it. And so I know that we had talked about 8 poems. So going around now, did we want to do an encore, like another round? I know, Isabel, you had said that you had one kind of lined up. Marie, do you have one? No. Should we quickly pull one up and stall? Oh, and we have a raised hand. Who was that? It just popped up. Did someone want to ask a question? Or that could have been an accidental raising hand. But in that case.
Accident.
Oh, accident. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. If it was some type of burning question, I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to ask that. Fiona, do you have a poem that you would want to try to do?
I hadn't taken one out or anything, but you guys go ahead.
Yeah, Isabella, do you want to go ahead and do yours? My 10-year-old had approved this one.
Okay, so I didn't know which one you meant.
The magician one.
Oh, you want me to? I can do the magician one. That's fine. It's still a bit of a draft, but I'd be happy to. I didn't know if you meant that or the heron poem.
Oh, yeah, because that one's good too. We could even leave that for when the recording is off, and then you could do that. But
well, I will, for laughs, I'll be the I'll bring some comedic relief. Let me just pull the poem up. And find it. This I didn't realize that's the one Zina meant. It's gonna get workshopped with some friends later this week, so hopefully it's good. Will just take me a minute. So I for fun started writing these different light verse poems that I'm unofficially titling the Bad Ex-Boyfriend series. And I will preface this by saying I did not date a professional or amateur magician, but anyway, this is called Vanishing Act. I'm tired of being the muse of a magician and sick of getting sawed in two for laughs. His plans have come to nothing. Still, ambition appears to be the only thing he doesn't lack. He's got a cash flow problem. It's a trickle and made all of our savings disappear, unless we're talking quarter, dime, or nickel. He's plucked out from behind a stranger's ear. I blame myself. I fell for his whole deal, wax, mustache, cane, and cape, those little gloves. I stuck around long after the reveal of who he really was. He's got his doves to keep him company, his wands, trick decks. I'm leaving, but I've lost my self-respect. And there's my magician poem. Thank you.
I love that poem so much. I remember, so Isabella had read it during residency during one of the nights. We can kind of nominate ourselves to do like a little reading before dinner. And yeah, and I was laughing in the front row when I heard that. The little gloves. Anyway, so Fiona, do you think you could pull anything up quickly? I can stall for
Yeah,
time.
I just realized that since my mom is here, maybe I'll okay, so I wanted to thank Alex for publishing my poem that I read in Poems for Persons of Interest in the latest issue. That was really good, that I downloaded on my computer so I can read everybody's work there. Another one of the poems that I had sent to him, so it's conveniently located in this document here, was about my great grandmother, and I thought my mom might be interested to hear this draft, and she's here today. So my great grandmother was a writer and a photographer, a very creative person and scholar, and just a beautiful person, my role model, that I was fortunate to know her and spend a lot of time with her. She lived until I was in college. So anyway, this is about her typewriter that's inside that secretary right there. Okay. Great grandmother's typewriter. Her blue typewriter's story wasn't hers. Beneath the secretary's dark, closed eye, the keys are silent, ribbon hanging dry, its ink shriveled to coal and graphite blurs. Oblivious to the poetry's accrual, Grandpa went back to settle her affairs, the business of the bank and all his shares. I got the news while far away at school. Back in her prime, her son's needs and her books were subject to her husband's jealousy. She set upon her hidden industry and curled her fingers to the keys like hooks. She tucked into a corner lined with rows of fading spines, a desk where the bright chrome return arm brought her singing lines back home. I've set that blue machine in dark repose. Her papers lost live on with my regrets. The piles of written work shoved in a case, the secret and the published face to face. In journals, she was flanked by cigarettes and bullet bras and freezers without ice. Her silence showed me what her poems were for. Cold waves breaking like time, the sky a door, a wife recoiling from her husband's eyes when by cruel accident he killed their son. The words we never spoke stab into place, above the grand type keys, before death's face. Gushing ink now, the ribbon comes undone. So this whole book has a theme of family, and I think it really, Anne Blumoff sent me a note and she said, there's a sense of earned serenity in the book. And I thought that was just so beautiful and such high praise. And not very many of my poems are about family. I think maybe not a very high percentage, but it's an important topic. And I'm so glad that we decided on that as a theme. And so who am I throwing it back to now? Is it Zina? Zina, are you ready?
I think we lost Marie, so it would have to be
Okay.
me, I guess.
Hope she'll come back.
Yeah, I was going to read an old poem called Sorrow, which is an ecstasis, which you no longer can see online. So I felt like more pressure to like read it, but I'm torn between that and also Two Roads, which was also published by Poems of Persons of Interest, because Alex is here too. That would make him really happy. They're both pretty short poems too, but so I'll do this. At Powers, they do this thing where you can vote. Like, do you want to hear sorrow or do you want to hear Two Roads? Everyone who wants sorrow, raise your hand. Everyone that wants Two Roads, raise your hand. Okay, so it looks like it's Two Roads. Oh my, of course Alex will vote for this as well. So, and the funny thing is that I don't actually have it on my printout, so I'll have to go by memory. So, you know, winging a prayer. So here's two roads, and it goes like this. I look at one road, and then another. I hold the ashes of my brother, who only asked one thing of me before his body set him free. Go spread my ashes in the wood where we once played. I thought I could, but now I stand where paths divide. I always needed him to guide. And so, I just wanted to say that I actually don't have a brother, but this is all about like family and all that. I have this imaginary older brother that I keep killing off in poems. This has been something I've talked about. I have no idea why. It's like because I can't create the drama. I don't want anything bad to happen to my actual family. So I've created this other character who, poor guy, he gets like he's lost, he's missing, and or he's dead or whatever, and so it's created some very good poetry. But then I have this awkward thing where someone comes up to me and says, "I'm so sorry about your brother," and then I'm not sure whether or not I can explain to them all that all the backstory. So I said, "Thank you." And then go on. But then I always feel like I have to explain to the greater audience. I've heard that some people do that, like they fictionalize a bit more their parents, like, so that their parents are like so much more dramatic and different than they are like in the poems than they are in real life. So I'd love to hear from anybody else where they do that, so I don't feel like such a weirdo. Or I might just be a weirdo, and that's still okay. I've come to terms with that. Anyway, so yeah, this is the conclusion of our reading. Thank you again to Christopher, and thank you to Marie, who is, she had to bail out early. We kind of knew that. And special thanks again to Isabella and Fiona. And again, Fiona's work is fantastic. If you have not gotten a broadside or a notebook or a card or anything, a bookmark, she creates art. So it's like you get the art of the poem or whatever is being printed, and you get the art of the physical thing. And of course, it's just there's so much skill. I greatly admire that. So yeah, thank you.